Welcome to No Ceilings here on YouTube. I am Maxwell Baumbach, and I am joined today by a very special guest for another prospect interview. I'm joined today by Marshall's Taevion Kinsey, who is now fully declared for the NBA draft coming up. Just competed at the Portsmouth Invitational. Taevion, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to be here. Glad to be, getting to do this interview. So it's gonna be good.
For sure. We're glad to have you here. So you've been on the radar for a while. Like I feel like you're one of those guys a lot of people are familiar with. But let's go back to the very beginning before we get into all of that. What got you into basketball growing up?
Mostly my dad. I remember I was about 6 years old. That was about the time I could like really shoot and put the ball in the basket, at least make it in the basket. And my dad would take me to the YMCA at like 8 o'clock in the morning. We'd be like the first people there, and he would put me through a full workout. And I would come back. I would probably work out for about 2 hours, and then I would come back later and have to go against older people and use what I learned in those workouts against people. So I would say my start for the game started pretty early.
That's awesome. That's really cool that you had that level of coaching and stuff like that going on at a young age. That's really great. What was your kind of like when you got into high school and things like that? What was your recruitment like? And then what led you to Marshall? Because I think a lot of times when people see a player from like a mid-major or a smaller school, they tend to think like not the kind of player that you are. Like they don't associate like really high level athletes and super mobile players, guys that can jump with a low major, like a mid-major program like Marshall. So how did you end up at Marshall?
Well, one of my friends on the team, well, he used to be on the team. We joined the AAU program. I didn't really have any offers coming out of my senior year, so we joined the AAU program. We had a tournament in Las Vegas, and Marshall ended up, giving an offer to my friend. And Coach Dan D'Antoni, he came to, our last game of the tournament, and he seen me play, and he was like, I wonder if we can get those guys in a package deal. And at the time, I really wasn't thinking about Marshall, all like that. And they ended up giving me an offer. I came down here, and I took a visit in less than probably like 45 minutes. It was probably like a 45-minute visit. I toured the campus like really fast. And then I talked to Coach Dan, and he just told me, like, if you want to be here and you want to make it to the next level, you're going to have to, work hard. And I'm not promising you anything. So I love challenges myself. So I ended up taking the challenge, and now, I never looked back. I never regretted anything, any decision.
That's really cool. So how was it that you like didn't have offers? Because I wasn't familiar with you prior to Marshall. So like why was it that like you weren't on the bigger radar? Like what was different about your game then than it is now?
I would just say I didn't have the athletic ability I had. I kind of just woke up one day and it just came out of nowhere. But I would just say, like, for the most part, I changed my work ethic. Like my junior year, I started dedicating myself to getting up and going to the gym at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I would work out for like 3 hours and then go to school, have practice after school, and then stay after practice and work out until like probably like 9 o'clock. So I was getting home probably like 10 o'clock, but I was doing it every single day because I wanted to offer so bad. And, that hard work eventually paid off.
Yeah, it did. And I think it helped you a little bit along the way too, considering the position that you're in now. So yes, you mentioned Coach Dan Antoni, who's done a phenomenal job. Like Marshall's always a good program. Nowadays you're seeing a lot more guys where they'll go to college, they'll play at that level, and then like they're giddy to get out of there. They want to play, they want to transfer up, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like if that's what a guy wants to do, that's what they want to do. But what was it that led you to stay at Marshall throughout your entire college career and not look to go somewhere else?
Ultimately Marshall gave me a sense of like loyalty. I remember, like I said, I had no offers, and Marshall was one of the schools that offered me. So, I'm very loyal to who's loyal to me. That's just kind of how I look at things. That's kind of how I go about things. But the community of Marshall, the students, the university itself, and really Coach Dan, he really didn't talk much about basketball. He talked a lot about life and asked how we were doing every day. He talked to us, off the court. He was there for us off the court just as much as he was there for us on the court. And when you gain relationships like that, it's hard to walk away from things like that. And we have a very good program, and basketball comes with ups and downs. So I was ready to stay no matter what. And Marshall, like I said, was loyal to me at the beginning, so it was a no-brainer not to finish my career here.
Yeah, and I think that kind of leads in my next question a little bit too, which is you stayed at Marshall, and not only if you wanted to, you could have looked for other colleges. You could have gone the pro route earlier. Like, I think after your junior year, it seemed like there was a real, genuine interest in you coming from NBA front offices and things like that. So what led you to say, you know what, I'm gonna wait it out. I'm gonna use all of my college eligibility and then go from there.
Well, ultimately, it was just a personal decision. I felt at the time mentally I wasn't ready to go and play against the best players in the world. I feel like sometimes you have to look at the game as 80% mental, 20% physical, because you have to be mentally prepared. You have to be in the right mindset to, go out there and perform well. These guys are feeding their families playing basketball. Mm-hmm. So I that was a big step for me at the time. And I just took a step back and looked and was like, I got some areas in my game that I want to, patch up, such as like my jump shot. I wanted to get my playmaking better. And I just knew I wanted to get as close to the best me going into the draft, because you have to be all in when you do this thing. Mm-hmm. So therefore I felt at that time I really wasn't all the way in, and I was just now getting on the scene. So a lot of things were coming at me fast, but for the most part, I never regretted the decision to come back, and I had a kind of rocky year after that, and then ended up having a great year to finish off my last year there. So
yeah, so that's like a really mature answer, both on like a personal and a professional level. So when you're in that position, how was it balancing like the outside pressures and things like that? Because I feel like for me, like I'm 32, but like at that age, I don't think I would have handled that very well. Like just having people be like, oh no, like go pro, like you can do it. Like how did you handle that and kind of internalize and deal with those outside pressures when you knew that that's what you felt like?
Well, I would just say I keep a very small circle. I only allow a couple of people in my life, to really have a little bit of say, or maybe somebody that I can go and talk to and I would take their opinion, because at the end of the day, it's going to be my life. It's going to be what I'm doing. And I just felt like nobody can understand you better than you. So, I had to be mature about it and step back and be like, you know what? How are you feeling? Because in the process, everybody's like, go. A lot of people are like, stay, and it's all over the place. But in the end, you're making the decision, and that's never been hard for me. I've had parents that's like, just make the decision. So therefore, I blocked out all the outside noise. I kept the people who are important to me around, and it helped me make great decisions. So
yeah, and I think it's paying off. So you mentioned that you did like kind of like a rocky year the season before this one, but I thought that even in that season, it became pretty evident that you were growing a lot as a ball handler and as a passer, especially like the closer you got to the basket, like your interior passing game and things like that really developed. What sort of led to that jump from when you were like initially, even like your sophomore year, kind of like more of a scorer, and then it's like, oh man, this guy's like a real distributor and creator as a whole, rather than like just a guy who can get himself a bucket?
Well, I felt as if every year I had to develop something into my game. And I remember sitting down after my sophomore year with Coach Dan, and he was like, I'm going to need you to expand your game. You're going to have to start making tough shots. I'm going to start asking you to take some tough shots, make some plays. I need you all over the place. And like I said at the beginning, I accept every challenge. I love challenges. So that summer, my junior summer, I challenged myself into becoming a playmaker, reading the game better. And it came with time. It came with watching a lot of film, seeing my mistakes. I would come into the office with Coach Dan. He would tell me everything I did wrong. Nothing, we never watched one good clip. It was everything I did wrong, but it helped me out a lot. You know, it allowed me to see what I was doing. I'm a more visual person, and then I'll go out there and do it. So for me to, you know, now be here, I would just say it just took a lot of film practice and just being more calmer. I felt like I've got more mature in my game a little bit more. Just being in college for a little bit longer than guys usually would be. I feel like I've seen a lot. I know how to play with certain people. I know how to set guys up in a way to get a basket. And like I said, my dad taught me how to play basketball. So he always told me, like, if you can't score, try to find a way you can make somebody else score. You're very good at that. You can use your athletic ability to gain people to come towards you so that you can allow for another player to score or set up your player to score. So, and I feel better passing the ball than I do scoring. I
Mhm.
really do. It may not seem like it, but that's the best feeling in the world, seeing your teammates score and being able
Mhm.
to set up a play and create something out of nothing. So,
Yeah, yeah. And one of the other elements I thought that really started to show up a lot in your game, and I think it really showed up this past week at Portsmouth, and we're going to talk about Portsmouth kind of separately in a second.
mm.
Um, but I think a lot of times you'll see it, like I see it on my end, and it's always tricky. Like as an evaluator, as a scout, we'll see guys really blossom offensively. And then like with that, as they take on this larger usage, this bigger offensive role, the defense kind of naturally kind of takes a step back. Like guys aren't as keyed in. They start to take place off a little bit more. And you kind of have to go, all right, well, that's understandable. The offensive role is really big. But you posted some of the best defensive metrics of your career during your best offensive season, which was this season. So how did you stay locked in on defense this season and have such a good defensive season while also kind of doing a lot on the offensive end of the floor?
Well, I can't take full credit for that at all. I would have to say my team. We were a great team. I mean, we
Mhm.
finished 24-8. You know, best record we've ever had in Marshall history. We have we go down in history for that. But I would say it was a team effort. We kind of bought in way more on defense. Because if you look at our system, Marshall, we're known for running fast pace, getting up a lot of 3-pointers, stuff like that. We're usually known for offense, but this year we took a different approach, especially moving to another conference in the Sun Belt. It being more physical, you have to
Yes.
defend.
Yeah.
You have to
Mhm.
defend. So therefore, we had to be locked in at all times, and it would be hard at sometimes because and Coach Dan's he can have this knock on me for the rest of my life, but he always catches me watching in practice. Like I'll sometimes make a play or I'll pass and I'll stand there and I'll
Mhm.
watch, and he's like, Taevion, you're watching, you need to move, keep moving. And he'll
Mhm.
always pull me to the side and he'll tell me, like, I need you everywhere. And again, he gave me a challenge before the season. He was like, I want you to increase blocking shots. I want you to increase deflections and using your length. And I want you to increase steals. And I told him, okay,
Mhm.
I accept the challenge. And I went out there and I did it. But I really, like I said, I can't take full credit for that. He challenged me. My teammates challenged me. Even if I wasn't in a spot, they were getting on me. So therefore, I had a lot of people around me that helped me get to, being locked in on the defense end. And then offense, if you know basketball, defense creates offense. So that's kind of
Mhm.
how it got flowing. So
For sure. For sure. And then, yeah, so I mentioned Portsmouth real quick. I didn't get to go this year. So I was kind of watching on Synergy through our video partner. But everybody that was there kind of killed me today because I put out an article about it. And I didn't give you enough love in the article. And everyone's like, oh my God, like Taevion Kinsey in person. Like, trust me, you're missing out on Kinsey. You're missing out on Kinsey. So everyone that was there
mhm.
was really kind of hyping up how you looked just from an athleticism standpoint and from a defensive standpoint as well. You performed really well at Portsmouth, but what were kind of your big takeaways from the event? Because I think for a lot of people, they don't realize kind of the pressure cooker that it is. You're playing in these
Mhm.
games with a gym full of professional scouts with NBA teams, and everybody's gunning for a spot. So it can be really hard to, I think, play the right way at Portsmouth for a lot of guys. And I thought you did, and I thought it really showed up on defense. But can you just talk about your Portsmouth experience and kind of what you took from it?
Well, first off, it was a great experience. I'm very blessed to have that experience in my life. I know they offered me it last year when they thought I was going to come out last year, and I ended up going back to school. But I'm glad I took this experience, and you got to think it's the top 64 guys in college basketball up there in the top
Mhm.
of top 64 all in one gym in front of all NBA GMs, like that's pressure right there. And it was fun. You know, it raised the level of competition, it raised the intensity. It allowed guys to showcase things maybe you may not see them do in games on TV or in their college systems. It allowed guys to express themselves freely. They may have gotten to, you know, show off the handle a little bit more, show off their shot that they could shoot it a little bit better. But I would just say the atmosphere of it. They had fans in there mixed with,
Mhm.
you know, GMs mixed with coaches, and it was an eye-opening experience. It definitely was. It was a great group of guys. The competition level was good, and ultimately, I would do it again. I definitely would. I
Mhm.
know I can't, but I would recommend anybody who got
Mhm.
that invitation to go ahead and take advantage of that, because it's a great experience.
Mhm. So, yeah, I mean, obviously you're a guy that's in Portsmouth. You do well at Portsmouth. You've been on the radar for a long time. Obviously, there are going to be a lot of NBA teams looking at you, bringing you in for workouts. We've got combine events still to go. So it's a lot. But during this time, what are kind of the elements of your game that you're most focused on developing? Like, what do you want to show teams that's new or different or improved as you head into this part of the draft cycle?
Definitely my jump shot. You know, that's been a knock on my career for a very long time. You know, just being inconsistent. He's inconsistent. He shoots good this time. He shoots not so good this time. Then he's back up. I just wanted to show consistency. I want to show that I can knock down a jumper. I want to show as well that I can read the game better than what people think I can. I know I want to be able to showcase my ability to pass the ball, just all of those things. But I really, really want a lot of people to focus in on my jumper, because it's been a work in progress. You know,
Mhm.
that's what I think a lot of teams, when I talk to them during the interviews at the pit, they were telling me, you know, we want you to develop a consistent jump shot. We want you to, you know, your percentage was high this year, but you didn't shoot a lot. And we
Mhm.
want you to expand on that and things like that. So definitely going in, I would say more focus on, you know, showing that I can, you know, be a consistent shooter.
And is there anything like with your form that you're changing or anything like that, or is it just a matter of like I got to get up the reps?
Definitely the reps, because reps
Mhm.
builds up confidence. And I think
Mhm.
for me, it's more so just sometimes not being confident and taking that shot, because I know I can get to my mid range better than I can shoot a three. And just being
Mhm.
confident enough, like, hey, I can shoot this the same way I can shoot this. But it comes with time, it comes with practice, it comes with reps. So I would definitely say repetition, just over and
Mhm.
over, shooting it same way, same form every single time. So
Awesome. Awesome. And what do you see your role being on an NBA team?
definitely like I like guys like Norman Powell. I mean, like the way he plays defense and uses the athletic ability. I like guys like Derrick Jones Jr. using his athletic
Mhm.
ability. I could see myself at that level. And then obviously coming in and playing defense, you know, I think that's what can get you out there on the court faster than putting the ball in the basket. Is being able to go out there and stop a guy. And I think, you know, with my athleticism and length, I can help a lot of teams with that. And you know, it's going to take some improvement on my body and development guarding NBA guys, but over time, I feel like I can be one of the guys who can come in and make a difference on the defensive end, and then eventually expand into showing what I can do on the offensive end as well. So
Awesome. Awesome. Love to hear that. It's been a real pleasure talking to you. It's been great
yes,
having you
sir.
on. For people that want to continue to follow the journey and see what's next for you, where can they find you on social media?
You could find me on social media at both of at Twitter it's Kinsey Taevion,
Mhm.
and capital K and then capital T. And then on Instagram is Taevion1K underscore. And you could find
Perfect.
me on both of those. I don't have a TikTok or anything like that, but you know, I appreciate this. I thank you
Mhm.
for having me on here. This was a blast. You know, I would love to do this again.
Absolutely. Hey, yeah, you're always welcome back. You're always back. We'll give you your own show on the podcast network. So
Yes, sir.
you did
Yes, sir.
great. You
Yes,
did great.
sir.
So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you everybody who's tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, our Substack, and our podcast feed. Have a great night.